Revolutionary greetings, comrades. My name is Comrade Page Nadimwengu from Kenya, the Revolutionary Comrade. Today, I want to share my experience as probably the youngest person who happened to try political positions in Kenya, and I went for the presidency of this country. Anyway, before I start, I want to ask one question that we know very well that in Africa this year alone we'll be having around 16 countries having the election. The earliest will be either Nigeria in this month. The key question I want to ask is that do you believe as a citizen that your vote really counts? Or do you think that those who count your votes are the people who are more important than your vote? And how do you think that you can make your vote count if it doesn't count? So yes, back then, after finishing my campus back in 2018, I was only 23 years old in 2019 when I thought of getting into political positions and politics. I've been a leader sometimes back in campus as a secretary general of the student union. I've been trained and affiliated with many leadership organizations in Africa. And therefore, to me, I felt like as a young person, it's time that I bring to the political scene the leadership skills that I've learned, the few experience at my younger age level that I have experienced to manage my fellow young people. And I thought that it was wise enough for me to do this. So yes, 2019 I started a political party, brought some group of young people. That was the genesis of my candidature, because the election in this country was last year 2022, so I started from 2019. So I brought some fellow young youths together. We happened to form a political party, because our question was like, do we really have a space for young people in the current political parties in Africa or even in Kenya? And it was very clear to us that it's no. The answer is no. Most young people in various political parties are being used as the youth leaders, and like women also in women leadership, women league, but they actually don't get space to be on the ballot as leaders vying for different positions. I know of discriminative laws in Africa that I've spoke of and I've spoke against it, and I'm still insisting that many African countries that still do not allow young people to go for political positions must ensure that they allow the young people to go for political positions and run for those positions. Because I believe that you cannot say that my vote is important and that I have a right to vote at the age of 18, but I don't have a right to be voted. So I still challenge many countries that are still not allowing the young people to go for political positions to allow anybody who is above age 18 or above the age of voting to be given the right both to vote and to be voted in. So yes, I started a political party in 2019. I brought a group of young people through our WhatsApp online. We came together, we started the name search process, we did. After that, we went for the party symbol search, we did that. Then it was time for the constitution of the party. I was just a young man, fresh out of campus. I didn't have a good job to do. But I decided to look for some few people who could help me draft the constitution of the party. Unfortunately, most of the lawyers needed some money and I was not having that money. So what happened is that I took my Samsung phone, I drafted a constitution of the party using my phone for around 1 week. I shared with my friends through the WhatsApp group and they accepted it and approved it. So after that, I took the constitution to the registered political party, and luckily enough, it was approved. From there, I had to mobilize for around $1,000 so that I could pay for a provisional certificate of my party. I did that by 2020. I started the party 2019 and others. By 2020 October, we were able to get a provisional certificate through contribution of friends. Young people came together and contributed. Then unfortunately, after that, getting provisional certificate, I was now supposed to go for full certification of the party. So once you get a provisional certificate in my country here, with $1,000 you have to pay, you're given 6 months previously. Now the changes were made in the constitution and the election laws that now gives you around 9 months for you to complete the full certificate. So when I got the provisional certificate in 2020 October, I was supposed now to set up 24 county offices and I was supposed to register at least 2,000 or 3,000 people from different 24 counties. But this was an uphill task. A young man like myself who just thought of WhatsApp and of an online thing could create a political party now was taxed more to register political offices and to pay over $5,000 for that full certification. So things started up and down. I was not able to manage this. Then over a period of time, the month that I was given 6 months lapsed, so my party was deactivated a bit. But my vision and my goal to still bring leadership into the political scene did not stop. So I said, I was just an ordinary person operating my small barber shop as a small business. I said I should still go ahead. I must dare to invent the future. So yes, I thought of, in my constitution of my country, you are allowed to run as an independent candidate. So a young person can go as an independent candidate, and the constitution allows that if you want to run for the presidency as a young independent candidate, you only have to pay around $1,000 for you to be approved. So I said, yes, the party stopped, but my vision to transform my country or to invent the future cannot stop here. So I went ahead and fronted my name for presidency. And actually, I succeeded. I was gazetted as one of the 57 presidential aspirants who are running for the presidency in my country, in Kenya. That's 2022. I was almost the youngest. In fact, even they already prepared for my debate, and they had put me in the list of the presidential debate, and they were seeing how hot it's going to be. A new law was put in place by the electoral body that those 50,000 supporters must come with their photocopies of national identification card. That became so expensive because many people did not trust. How can we give you your photo, our identification card? In the rural villages, even to get a copy of an ID is very hard. So it means you have to take people's identification, then go photocopy and then return back those copies in the villages. So it proved futile. And it was only 1 week towards the nomination date. So I even proposed my running mate, but on the nomination date now I was cut out. Because the electoral body, now this is where the maneuver started. The electoral body put in a requirement that was what we call intentionally put in place to block us. Because we in Kenya, we had a Data Protection Act of 2019 that guides how the data should be protected. So by introducing a requirement of identification card copies, it was technically a procedure to lock us out as presidential aspirants and to reduce our numbers. So my journey stopped there because I could not be able to mobilize the identification cards. It required a lot of resources and it was only within 1 week. Some of my friends went ahead, some even produced those copies, but the electoral body decided to even not to take those copies. So the electoral process started to be manipulated from the nomination level by the electoral body. I remember we followed up this case to challenge the requirement of identification cards, and that was on May when we were blocked, on May 26th, 2022. Then on July, we went to court. We were moving to court with the same case, and the court ruled out that the requirement for us to produce the photocopies of identification card to those who are supporting us was illegal. It meant that the nomination process was illegal. So we didn't have legal candidates because there is no way you could have legal candidates out of an illegal process that the court had already termed illegal. What happened? The electoral body went to court and asked for a stay order so that they could be allowed to conduct election because it was only a month to election. They got the stay order. They were granted the stay order. But back then, on May, the electronic system of election was tested, and it happened that there was 56% error in the electoral process systems. So how could the electoral system that were to be used for the election have 56% error 2 to 3 months to election? It already pointed to some things that the election was not going to be that transparent or credible. We assumed that, and personally, I had my reservation. I said that election should not be treated as any normal thing. Election is a serious event that if the Electoral Commission is not prepared to have a credible election, they rather even postpone and move forward the election than to have it. Because the impact of an incredible election is very devastating. It can destroy economy and anything else. But we said, okay, they have blocked us, let's push ahead. So personally, I had a serious feeling that it was not right for us to move this election forward because I felt, not because I was knocked out, but because of the processes that were leading to this election, I felt that it was not going to be credible. Remember, in Kenya, 2017 election was also cancelled by the court, and it was due to the processes that were not actually in place as per requirement. So we went to election, 4 candidates were in the ballot. Yes, election was done. After an election, immediately, there was a transmission. First of all, there was an argument between whether we use a manual register or electronic one. Then the Electoral Commission was insisting using electronic, but we were also having some reservations. How about somebody whose fingerprint cannot be detected electronically? Would they be denied right to vote? So we asked that as part of electronic system, we need to have a manual register. If your fingerprint cannot clock, you can use a manual register to confirm and you vote. That took place. But after all, we realized that the election results were challenged in court because there were issues that it was not credible, there were corruption and malpractices in between. Then now, after that, the court made a funny ruling that the evidence that was produced by the petitioners was a hot air. But now, 6 months or more, almost 6 months down the line since our election, it's coming back to haunt us. The opposition leader is insisting that the election was not credible. He has evidence that he won by 2 million and that he's not going to recognize this regime. And this regime is also trying to force themselves that they were elected in genuinely. The country is now divided because the election was not carried out in more credible and transparent way. We don't know what is now going to face Kenya after this, because the two sides are now opposing and the supporters are now believing that yes, their votes didn't count. There are so many claims are now Western countries, the US and the European Union interfered with the election to bungle it and have their candidate. As the economy bungles us up and down, my clear message to African countries that are going to have their elections and the citizens of those countries, that one, we must insist first of all that the electoral bodies are prepared enough to provide and offer us a credible and transparent elections. We must push for this more than even having an election itself. Because if those elections are not going to be credible, it's going to affect a lot of things in our economy. Many people are going to lose, or they are going to interfere with the economic system. So, very clear message is that we must push for credibility of elections before even the election is held. Then we also ask that at least the Western countries and the European Union should stop bungling African elections. Young people must come out and exercise their right to vote. But we also call for their rights to be voted in to be granted at the same time. So thank you all. Let's move forward to this election. Let's make it credible in this year. And let's change the continent. But we must ask for credibility of elections.